I think St. Eugene de Mazenod is the perfect saint for our times. Although our world today looks vastly different to the world he lived in, many of the challenges we are facing were also present in his day. Today, we see the greatest movement of people around the world in all of history, and many of these people are fleeing war and persecution. They are living outside of their countries, not by choice. They often leave behind family or are separated from their loved ones. They lack wealth, stability, comfort, and often the basic necessities of life. The plight of refugees is a real issue in our current world, and one that Eugene knew all too well. For 11 years, Eugene lived as a refugee throughout Italy, escaping the Napoleonic forces who were persecuting the French noble classes. Eugene also knew the separation from his family, the instability and indignity of being a person constantly on the move. In addition to being a refugee, Eugene also knew what it felt like to experience the separation of one's parents. The stress of being refugees, in addition to other circumstances, caused Eugene's mother to divorce his father and return to France without him. Eugene was separated from his mother for most of his adolescence, and this affected him for life. In Australia today, marriages last approximately 12 years on average, and divorce is a reality known in most families. Although his own family fell apart, Eugene was instilled with a great fervour to build his own family, a religious family. And I think this teaches us today that we need to find where we belong, and even if it is not biological, we can find a family somewhere. Lastly, Eugene lived during the time of the Industrial Revolution, a time of unprecedented change for Europe. Cities changed, people changed, new things were being invented. As wealth increased in many places, poverty also increased in many places. As governments sought to throw off the yoke of religion and obtain so-called liberty for the people, new powers and oppressive regimes rose to add the same pressures on people's lives. In today's world, where we are faced with so many challenges in a world so rapidly changing that sometimes we can't seem to keep up, we can look to St. Eugene, a man of integrity, a man of daring, a man of passion, and most of all, a man of faith. Eugene stood as a pillar of strength, a pillar of faith and hope for his oblates and for his people. Eugene stood strong because the waves of time would not sway him. The changes of earthly life did not worry him, for he knew and he believed that his destiny was not tied up in the things of this world, but he had his eyes firmly set on the prize ahead. He knew that our human existence was only temporary. The journey was a means to an end, and that end was in heaven. Saint Eugene achieved that final end, and now we can turn to him for inspiration and divine assistance, for he is the saint of our times.